Good evening. After our conversation on the Zoom the other day, I began thinking about what topic I wanted to learn more about. And the topic I chose was the school budget. And I did top up some notes, so I will be reading from some notes during this video conference, if that's okay. So, starting with the budget, the school budget is a very important part. I learned a lot about it through this research, and I now know that there's a lot more that goes into the school budget than what I knew. So, as managing the school budget is a critical responsibility of the school principal, whether that's the elementary or the high school principal, but it is a very critical responsibility on their part. Um, they it, by understanding the funding sources and preparing and planning the budget, managing these finances, and ensuring compliance with regulations, the principal creates the process needed to ensure that the funding is going to support the education of all the students. So, principals must continuously develop their financial knowledge just and skills so that they can understand the complexities of the school budget. There are four major funding sources, I learned. So, one being the local funding. That is made up of your local property taxes, and the amount of funding the school receives from local taxes depends on the property values within the district. So, the wealth of the local property tax base significantly affects the funding of the school. If you have a higher property tax value, you're going to generate more revenue for their schools than if you're from a lower socioeconomic area. The school board at North Hopkins set our tax rate is set at 0.9896. Also, you have another one of the four major funding sources is state funding. This is where it's based under the Texas Education Agency. And the funding is based on the Foundation School Program, or also known as the FSP. It consists on factors such as student attendance, special education needs, and socioeconomic status. So in 1993, I learned that the Robin Hood program was implemented, and that was created to take excess funding from the wealthy schools and redistribute it to the poor districts in order to have a more equitable distribution of funds. There have been changes made to the Robin Hood program to help further balance the need for equitable funding. Schools in Texas receive $6,160 per student, excuse me, and this is based on a average daily attendance. And having been in the classroom previously, I know that our elementary principal, would always stress the importance of attendance, which, for an academic standpoint, yes, it's important. But now I've realized, okay, there's more to it. It is more, you do get the funding. If the students aren't there, you're not getting the money. So, and also another one, the third one is federal funding. And that's where your Title One federal funds supports the schools with high percentages of low income students, which North Hopkins is a Title One school, and then the Individuals with Disabilities Education Acts, or the IDEA, and that provides funds for the special education services. And we receive both of those. Like I said, we get the Title One, but we also receive the IDEA funds as well. And the schools that are currently receiving special education funding depends on how much time a student spends in a particular setting. So that was interesting to learn that that's a factor. And then the fourth major funding source is grants and donations. So schools can also receive additional funds from grants provided by the government agencies and also from private foundations. Now, when preparing the budget and planning, there's a lot that goes into that. And the effective budget preparation and planning is crucial for the financial stability of a school. The principal is responsible for having budget discussions that involve the school administrators, school boards, school employees, as well as community members. The principal must review the district's educational goals and priorities for the upcoming year in order to begin planning the budget. So, um, in this, the principal must collaborate with the stakeholders. So they're going to work with the campus improvement committee. They're going to discuss the budget for the upcoming year. Parents are encouraged to give suggestions through the site-based decision making committee and parent surveys. Principals will collaborate with teachers and other staff members to gather input on budget needs. After collaborating with all the stakeholders, the principal helps set the budget priorities based on the school's objectives and goals. And there's four critical steps to prepare the budget. First one is you analyze the previous year's budget and performance. So they're going to look at the budget from the previous year as well as performance on of the students to see if funds need to be allocated in different areas based on the performance of the students. Their number two is that they make educated forecast of the financial needs for the upcoming fiscal year and create a prioritized list of measurable goals. Number three, add up all the expenditures, sorry, and compare them against the available funds. So they're going to add up all the expenditures, and then they're going to compare that with what is actually available. And then number four is understand three things when creating the budget. They've got to look at the funds available. They're going to look at the expenses, and then they're going to look at the budget's objectives. So all three of those things will be looked at to when creating it. You develop a budget calendar. Uh, this was something new to me that I learned that is done. So about mid-year of the current fiscal year, the principal began in preparation of the for the next year's budget. Projections and analysis are to be ongoing. They'll do a draft budget, create a draft budget that will be reviewed with the stakeholders to make needed adjustments before the finished budget is given to the superintendent. Um, Prioritize spending. You're going to allocate your funds to essential areas such as instructional materials, ensuring that all expenditures align with the school's educational goals. So, you're also going to monitor those expenditures. The principal must regularly review the financial reports in order to keep track of the spending. If the principal does notice a discrepancy, then this has to be the business manager has to be notified immediately of that discrepancy. And then if there needs to be adjustment with the budget, um, a campus principal may overexpend in a specific general budget line item as needed, but they're responsible for maintaining the balance of each function in the overall campus budget. So, all of this is a lot of information, but a lot of good information to know about the budget. Reporting. It, the principal is responsible for reporting budget information to the school board and other stakeholders. The principal must provide updates on the financial status of the school and justify expenditures at the monthly school board meetings. And then the final budget is posted on the school's website. Compliance. The budget must comply with the state regulations, so including the Texas Education Code and guidelines from the TEA. That ensures that the budget aligns with state requirements for funding and spending. And then an audit. Each ISD, so each school district, is required to have their financial statement audited annually by a CPA firm that has a current valid license issued by the Texas State Board of Public Accounting. vacancy and submitted to TEA no later than 150 days after the close of the district's fiscal year. So, North Hopkins fiscal year ends August 31. Therefore, the AFR is due to TEA. So, um, our sorry, our when the audit of it is due to the TEA on or before January 28th. Then this annual audit ensures the compliance with financial regulation and provides transparency, aligns with local, state, and federal regulations. There are major budget categories which there for the school districts to use to designate where the monies will be spent. So that includes instruction, you've got your curriculum and staff development, you've got health and safety, library services, food services, you've got your counseling services, your transportation facilities, the energy, and then school leadership and support. And the major purpose of the account code structure is to establish standard school district fiscal accounting system required by the Texas Education Code, section 44.007. So, another purpose of the use of the account code structure is to provide accurate information to the Texas Education Agency through the Public Education Information Management System. The account code structure consists of 20-digit codes and is divided into 9 sections. And you often see these when you're putting in a PO, which now it makes sense as to why when I put in a PO request and I'm filling it out in on the computer, I now understand it better. So you have your fund code. That's a mandatory 3-digit code. It's to be used for all financial transactions to identify the fund group and specific fund. So that determines where the funds are coming from. And then function codes are grouped according to related activities, major areas, or classes. Object classes, those are your expenditures or expenses classified by the major object classes according to the types of items purchased or services obtained. An expenditure or an expense account identifies the nature of the object of an account or a transaction. You have the sub object codes, which is a school district may use the optional codes in the code structure if there is a need for the account to the account for the information not otherwise provided in the mandatory chart account. You've got your organization codes, your fiscal year codes, your program intent codes, you have your local option codes. And it's important to note that the funds can be moved within one function, but they cannot be moved from one function to another without board approval. So that was, again, something I thought was very interesting, and it's very good knowledge to know that the funds can be moved within a function, but not from one function to another without approval. There are unassigned funds. That's a balance and where the school district places funds that have not been allocated for spending. It can often be seen as a district's reserve. So the school district measures their fund balance by calculating the number of days it can be used to operate without additional revenue. In order to get an A in the financial integrity rating system, a school must have enough in their unassigned fund balance to operate for at least 75 days. Maintaining an unassigned fund balance provides a safety net for unforeseen expenses or budget shortfalls. These funds can be set aside to meet any unexpected or emergency cost. Now, there are purchasing guidelines, and those are guidelines that the principal must follow based on the state and district policies. Um, there is also a state and federal grants manual that should be referred to. This manual will give the principal specific purchasing policies. There's no purchase or ordering of supplies or services of any kind can be made or placed without an approved PO, which Um, I I know before, like with us as a teacher, classroom teacher, when you're putting in something, we have been told, you cannot do anything without an approved PO. So now it makes sense. Any purchase or order made without an approved PO is considered an unauthorized purchase and may be subject to payment by the individual who violated the policy. And for each purchase order turned in, the principal has to determine if the purchase should come from the school budget or from a student activity fund. It's the responsibility of the principal to verify the need, determine whether the request is an allocable cost, issue the proper account code, and then record the goal objective and approve the PO. And the principal has to monitor then the PO dates and invoice dates to ensure that the policy is strictly followed. It's the job of the principal to enter the request into the requisition system, which automatically forwards it to the business manager for verification and approval. Then the PO is then sent to the superintendent for final approval. Tax exempt purchases. Um, the district purchases, all district purchases must be tax exempt. If an employee is completing a purchase and does not ensure that the invoice or receipt does not reflect a sales tax, if it does have a sales tax, then the employee will be held responsible for the reimbursement of the tax to the district. Um, this is just a highlight of the information that I gathered from my review of a school budget. There are a lot of controls and guidelines that are in place to ensure that the budget is used as appropriated. And I'm sure there's a lot more information that I will learn in regards to the budget. And so, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. This has been a very beneficial research, and I enjoyed doing it. I hope you have a good night. Thanks.